So as we just reported, it seems most economists are worried. But let's bring into someone who's taking a very different view on this. Professor Patrick Bond thinks it's not such a bad thing. Political economist and UJ Sociology professor. Prof, good to have you on ENCA. Always a pleasure speaking to you. All right, so we're taking a slightly different approach here, according to your view. Give me your thinking behind this. Good morning.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm actually a recovering economist. So I did actually once study at a business school, the same one that Elon Musk and Donald Trump did, the Wharton School. And what they teach there, and what economics generally teaches, is that markets should be unimpeded. The problem is we have a very corrupt corporate elite in South Africa. They're ranked #1 by PwC in their biannual surveys during the 2010s, currently tied for #2 behind India with China. By comparison, our state ranks 110th most corrupt of 180 by Transparency International. We really have a regulatory apparatus that's been state captured, not just during the Zuma years, but long before. And that's why I think we need the international assistance of financial sanctions against corporate tsotsis and their facilitators in the Treasury and the Reserve Bank. That's the difference I have with Intellidex and other economists who are worried. I'm actually encouraged because I think it will keep more money in the country from people engaged in illicit financial flows.
I won't lie, Prof, you had me when you said recovering economist when you studied the same school as Elon Musk. You lost me when you got to Donald Trump, I'm afraid. So this is going to be a fairly unpopular view. Help us understand why most people won't agree with you on this, because I see as part of conversations you've had is that this is going to be very left field of what most economists think should happen. So why do you think you're expecting some kind of backlash on this? Why is it not a popular view?
Well, look, anyone speaking common sense, like, if you have a cancer, treat it. Don't let it continue. That would be common sense. But economists, as they'd proven, I think, in 2008, had no clue that the financial system was such a mess. Very few economists, just one or two, actually predicted that we were in a financial bubble, including in South Africa. And this country has the highest JSE, or Johannesburg Stock Exchange, what's called a Buffett indicator. In other words, the share value compared to the real economy, the highest in the world over the past 30 years. So we've had financialization. So instead of about 12%, a sort of normal finance to GDP, we're double that. And so we've got this parasitical sector in the economy, the financiers. And they'd love to run money out of the country. And they've had a very supportive state. And again, it's not just during the Zuma era. Finance Minister Tito Mboweni was laughing when the Competition Commission began prosecution of currency manipulation by some of the largest banks in the world and our big South African banks that occurred in 2017 and 18, which was prosecuted in the US, but not here. Our current finance minister himself was involved in a pension scandal about a dozen years ago that forced him to leave his deputy ministership at that point. And our president, when he was a key figure in Lawmen, facilitated the illicit financial flows to Bermuda, notorious tax dodging, as well as when he was the chair of MTN and his own firm, Shanduka, was part of the Paradise Papers. So look, we've got a very corrupt nexus of the state and the corporate, so you can't deny that. And I think, just like Nelson Mandela, Albert Luthuli asked for economic sanctions against the apartheid regime, and Martin Luther King picked up the call, the United Nations moved with it. It may be that all the NGOs, trade unions, independent researchers that I know of who've been trying to reform the system of illicit financial flows, they may need international financial sanctions. Economists, on the other hand, love free flows. They don't mind if we're being utterly looted. 3 to 7% of GDP, even according to Treasury, goes out, according to the Financial Intelligence Center and Treasury, in the form of illicit financial flows. It's really time to put a stop to it, and having these barriers, the financial sanctions of the Financial Action Task Force that it looks likely we will have, I think will be very beneficial for the economy.
So in a very layman's way of explaining what you're talking about, Prof, and please correct me before I ask you if you think it's going to reduce money laundering if we are grey listed. In this case, by supporting this, essentially it's like someone who can't handle their pocket money. They keep spending it, they're running out of money, they keep borrowing money. To stop them overspending, just take it away from them. Is that what you're saying? We have no impulse control as a country and our economy, so take it away before it gets worse. Is that essentially what you're saying?
Well, no, Gareth, I won't blame you or myself. I'll blame a very small 1% at the top of the financial system. You can find them in Sandton. dangerous place, according to the PwC, for crime. Number one during the 2010s. So we're really talking about a small sliver of people. There is a racial bias. You can guess what that is. And this is a capitalist class that during the apartheid era seemed to be patriotic. The Oppenheimers and Ruperts were reinvesting. But when democracy came, they hightailed it to London. And the outflow of profits, dividends, and interest, which is not illicit, it's licit. And now, with Enoch Godongwana's relaxation of about 3 trillion rand worth of institutional investor funds because of relaxed exchange controls in the February budget, they can run. So I do think we have a capital shortage problem. There's a lot of speculative money, but there's too much that's running out. And that means we're all compelled to pay higher interest rates. So if you don't like the interest rate increases, we should advocate stronger exchange controls and prosecution and policing of this money laundering and tax dodging and the other forms of illicit financial flows, which I must say, I'm surprised that it's the International Monetary Fund, the Bank for International Settlements. They're the ones clamping down on South Africa. And as we speak in Washington at the World Bank IMF annual meetings that are just beginning now, we're going to see South African bankers very nervous when they meet their counterparts, who are going to look at them with much more circumspection, as they should. This is a very
as they should, and circumspection, I think, is exactly what's needed, regardless of whether you support greylisting or not supporting greylisting. Circumspection, I think, is the word that will end things off there, because I think it's the right way to end that. Prof, it's good to speak to you, and a very different view on greylisting, but I really appreciate your time. It's complicated, but explained very nicely the view of political analyst Professor Patrick Bond joining us here, also UJ Sociology professor. That's going to get economic tongues wagging for the next few days and